I help people feel better. I help people do more in their lives. And I help people live better lives.
Passion, as we say, is that fuel that enable you to jump through hoops with flames of fire, jump rope and chew gum at the same time. Passion is fuel, the purpose to enable you to cross the finish line or to finish what you start.
Focus on the end result that you want. What if I could feel better today? Even if you don't have, if you just ask the questions, what if I can feel better today?
You take hope and perseverance and you put that together. At the end of the day, it's going to be a success story.
Anybody, right? I mean, anybody can literally achieve the dream of home ownership in a 5-year plan, right? It starts today.
Attack the immediate tasks before you. And when I speak of attacking, what I'm trying to get you to consider is the idea that we need to take action.
So when you're not feeling good, you simply note it and know that you're focused on what you don't want, and you get to choose. You can be intentional, choose what do you want to focus on.
And so the word no is one of the most important words you can ever say, and yet it's so hard. If I say no to you, I am literally affirming myself. I'm giving myself permission to do me.
I'm saying the answers you need are within you, not without you. But you have to do what each one of the speakers have been asking you to do. Trust yourself.
I hope that this empowerment conference is doing exactly what we intended at the beginning. Remember when we started, I said it's going to be bringing you hope, encouragement, and strength in order for us to live. Okay, I say next year, but Ms. Jennifer said, no, starting today. Get the courage to bounce back starting today. I'm getting goosebumps just from hearing the speakers and listening to the songs and just finding myself bubbling to say, okay, I'm ready. I hope that you're ready as well. I'm excited because one of the things that I love doing is not only to have, women, men, but also to include what I call the young adults. The younger generation. If I could get them as young as 5 years old to just join a platform that we are at, because many of us forget sometimes what it is to be unafraid. Here's the next young man who will show you, teach you, and share with you that fear is not even an option. And let me tell you why I'm saying that. I met him years ago when he was younger than he is now. And he came on my TV show. I had a television show when I was in Boston, and he was one of my guests at the TV show. And I remember, which I will, when I sent the email with the goodie bag after this, I will also share with you the link to his video of that show, because he was, prophesizing or talking about this moment where he says, he had all these dreams about starting businesses at that young age, and he already had a business at that age. But I could see the way he was speaking, the conviction that was in him, and you could just see that this is one young man that nothing, not even COVID, is going to stop him. So I'm not surprised that J. Lucky Henry will be talking to you today about the American dream of home ownership. He's going to be talking about 2021 real estate opportunities. So let me tell you something. I don't care what country you are in, you can buy and invest in a home, apartment complex, or anything in any country now, because of COVID, everything is open for all of us to invest in any country. So he's right here in the United States. If you wanted to buy a home in the United States, this is the young man that I'm, sharing with you today, because he will make it happen. He's from Aruba, and his energy, his determination reminds me of my very good friend and colleague who will also be talking to you later on in the day. He's also from the islands. Dr. John Loblack will be joining you. Compare those two spirits. and mark my words, you will see what I'm talking about. So as I said, I met J. Lucky Henry 6 years ago in 2014, and he was one of the most amazing, focused, goal-oriented guests that I had the privilege to interview on the Dr. Stam show. I knew he would be successful. I knew nothing was going to stand in his way. And yes, today he's killing it, as they say in that generation. He's killing it as Boston's #1 video marketing real estate agent. Okay, he's not afraid to be on video. And this is a tongue twister for me. Sotheby's International Realty. Correct me when you come on, J. Lucky, because I can pronounce that. But it's a luxury real estate company that he works from. They sell homes around the world, worldwide. So when I went to the link, all I was just like, whoa, look at all these homes, the luxuries. And then I look at his videos on Instagram, Facebook, and he's got all these places that he's running around. I mean, all decked up to, so he plays the part and he looks the part. Make sure you check it out, or check out his links on he's on Facebook, but mostly on Instagram. So if you're one, tech savvy, get on Instagram, J. Lucky. You'll see J. Lucky in there. So I am so excited. J. Lucky, where are you? To introduce you and welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that amazing introduction. I don't know if I can live up to half of as much as you give me credit for, but I will do my absolute best. Welcome all. I know you guys have been on for a little bit. Thank you for having me today. I look forward to sharing something with you. Super exciting. Today specifically, what I want to share with you guys, and hopefully you can take something away from it, is how anybody, right? I mean, anybody can literally achieve the dream of home ownership in a 5-year plan, right? It starts today. And I'm guarantee you, I don't care what level you're at, whether you have no money, no credit, no experience, the step-by-step plan I'm going to give you on a high level today, it can be done in 5 years. You can end up in your dream home. And I'm going to break that down. So the first thing we want to start with, right, is let's just pretend you're at ground zero. You've got nothing. Like, you've lost your job, you've lost your credit score is bad, and you got no savings. Step one, right, we got to get you working again, right? So obviously you need a job when you're going to buy a home, right? The bank that's going to lend you money wants to see you working. They typically like to see a 2-year work history. So in this plan particularly I'm giving you, you're going to end up having a 3-year work history, because today you're getting a job where whatever it is you're working. What they like to see is they like to see you steadily increasing that over time, the amount you're getting paid. So maybe you start off at $12 an hour, right? But you do good because you're ambitious, you're driven, you're doing your thing. You bump up to maybe $15 an hour within that 1 to 3 year period. That's going to bode very well for you. The second thing I want you to think about is, if anyone out there has bad credit, right? I don't know how interactive this is, Dr. Stem. I heard people talking about raising hands. But if you have bad credit or anything like that, the first thing you got to do is think about how you can fix that. Because to get a loan from the bank to buy your house, you need at least a 640 credit score right now, 640. And I'm going to give you 3 quick tips on how you can fix it if your credit isn't bad. Now, this is not a fix it quick strategy. This is going to take you a year. It should take you a solid year to get it done. But tip number 1 is you get what's called a secured credit card. A secured credit card means you put down X amount of money and the bank gives you a credit card for that same amount. For example, you're working for $12 an hour, you're saving up. After 6 months, you're able to scrape together $300. You go to the bank, you give them that $300. They give you a card that acts just like a credit card and reports to all the credit bureaus that you can swipe and spend the max of $300 on. Now, why do they give you that card? Even though your credit might not be good, it's because you gave them the $300. If you don't pay, they know they take that $300 back, right? So they're not worried. But if you do pay on time and you're using it, right, at about 1/3 of the rate, your credit score is actually going to go up, right? Just like as if it was any other credit card, a black card or any other credit card, you get the same weight bearing on your credit. So you start to improve it. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is, if you do have someone you know and trust, and I know not everyone has this, but if you do have someone you know and trust who has good credit, you can ask them to make you an authorized user on their credit card. So that means they get another credit card that has your name on it, right? And the trick is, don't give it to you, right? They hold on to that credit card. And instead of using the one with their name on it, they use the one with your name on it, and they continue to live their life. You benefit from their good credit power. right? Their higher line of credit, the usage that they're doing, their on-time payments, their history. You benefit from all of that, and that also can increase your credit score. So those are 2 tips. You don't need to do both of them at the same time. You can do one or the other. And the third tip is you can look into some of the reputable credit repair companies that go out there and dispute on your behalf the things that are on your credit score that are making it have negative impacts, right? Whether there's charge-offs that need to be done, right? And there's a lot of educational videos on how you can do some of this yourself, sending in letters. But that's what we want you to do in year 1. Year 1 is you start working and you start repairing the credit. That's going to take you about, give or take, a year. All right. It's not a fast process, but it's a process that works, right? This is a 5-year plan. So year 1, we're getting the credit right. Now, in year 2 and 3, all we're doing is working and trying to get raises and saving. Those are 3 things we're doing in years 2 and 3. We're working, trying to get a promotion. When you get a promotion, the bank looks at that as a level of security with your employment. They see that as wherever you are, whatever field or industry you're in, you're good at it, you're going to stick with it. Because when they give you a loan, this is a 30-year loan they're giving you. They don't want you to have a job for a year, then be unemployed again, then have a job for a year. They want to make sure over 30 years, you can continue to pay. So if you're able to get that promotion, even if it's a small one, within that in years 2 and 3, that'll bode really well. Second thing is you want to start saving some money, putting money aside for the down payment, right? Because that's what you're going to need eventually to purchase this thing. You're going to need a down payment. And let's just do quick math, right? I know we're in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, but let's say we're talking about a property that cost around $300,000, right? And we can debate whether or not that's possible. I know some people might be in California and say there's nothing for $300,000, or New York, but I can guarantee you this: I can find something in Boston, or at least an hour from Boston, that's $300,000. And Boston's considered one of the top 10 most expensive countries in the city. So there's always opportunities out there. And if it's not near you, I'm going to say this other point, you might want to consider moving to where the opportunity is, right? Because if you can't buy a home where you live, then move to where you can afford the home. It's temporary. And I'll explain why in a second. So let's say it's $300,000. There's a program called the FHA, Federal Housing Authority, that allows you to buy with 3.5% down. So 3.5% of a $300,000 property is about $10,500, give or take. Now you add in a couple of closing costs, it's going to be less than $15,000 to get into that home, right? With the closing costs of like your attorney, your insurance, your title, etc. It's going to be less than $15,000. So in this 3-year plan, that means we're saving, give or take, around $5,000 a year. Now, that seems like a big number, but if you really break that down, right, $5,000 over the course of a year is not impossible to get done. So $5,000 for 3 years should be a very attainable goal that we're striving to save for those 3 years. What you're going to do once you have the 3 years of work history, you took the 1 year to fix your credit, now you're looking for homes. And this is where the 2 last steps come in that are super important. You don't want to go out there necessarily and immediately purchase your dream home. One, you might not be able to afford it, right? Your dream home, you might have expensive taste. You might want a $500,000 home might be a dream home, but we've only got you ready to buy a $300,000 property. What you want to do is look for an investment property, because with the 3.5% down, you want to leverage that to buy a multifamily property. The FHA will allow you to buy up to 4 units. So you can buy, that means you live in one and rent out the other 3 and start to make some income. Right? The FHA will allow you to do that. So the first property you want to buy on this 5-year hack to your perfect dream home is the biggest multifamily you can afford with the $300,000 within your general area. If that's a 4-family, great. If it's a 3, great. If it's a 2, great. Right? The bigger, the better, but buy as big as you can afford within your general area. Now, once you move into this property, you're going to rent out the other units you're not living in and start to collect rental income. If you have a 2-family, you're most likely going to have to still pay some of the mortgage, right? The person renting from you will probably cover a decent amount of the mortgage, but you still will be paying a little bit. If you have a 3-family, you're most likely going to make some profit. Those 2 people you're renting to are most likely going to cover your mortgage, and you'll most likely be making a couple $100 a month. If you have 3 other people renting, you're definitely going to make some money, right? Living there. So you buy that family, you're going to live in it for about 1 year, right? When you live in it for 1 year, you're going to then go back to the bank and say, I'm looking to buy another property and I'm going to move out of this. And why is this so important? The FHA will allow you to do an FHA loan again. A lot of people think that it's the FHA stands for first time home buyer. It stands for federal housing, and they will allow you to, and a lot of people think you can only do it once. they will allow you to do it again. What they want to see is that you're making an act. They want to believe that it's your primary residence. So if you buy a multifamily and then you go to a condo or a single family, that makes sense, right? To the bank, to the government, that makes sense that you would buy a multifamily and then increase your quality of life by moving out of a place where you have people above you, people below you, into a place that's more for you to raise the family, right? That's a logical step for them. So they will allow you to use 3.5% down again. The second benefit you get is all that rental income is now part of your income. So even if you haven't changed jobs yet, if you're still making that $35,000, $40,000 a year or whatever you were making that allowed you to save up the first time, all the rental income is now considered your income as well. So you've essentially given yourself a raise already, right? And that's good. You've given yourself a raise, you're making more money, which means you can qualify for something a little more expensive. Now, in this plan, I suggest after you buy the multifamily, you move into a condo. You move into a nicer condo. And here's why. You move into the condo, that's a natural step. You're moving into something with more amenities. You're trying to, maybe you have a kid on the way, maybe you don't, maybe you found a partner, right? All of that's natural progression for the FHA people. You live in that condo for 1 year. And guess what you do the next year? Now you move out of that condo looking for a single family and you rent out that condo. So now you've effectively given yourself rental income from a condo, rental income from all the units in the first multifamily. And guess where we are? It's been 3 years, right, that you got ready to buy the first one, lived in it for a year. That was year 4. Now this is year 5, and you're looking for a single family, and your income is effectively increased by 3 to 4 rental units plus the job you had. And if you continue to get raises in that industry, you've really dramatically increased your buying power, and you own some assets now. And now you look for that single family dream home and buy that one and move into it. This is the 5-year plan that I'm using, that I've learned from other people, and I recommend everyone who's starting from a place where they're like, I just don't see it feasible, right? Everywhere I look, all my dreams homes are too expensive. This is the plan. You buy that multifamily first, and it might be a little bit further out than where you initially want to be. Might be like an hour from the city. I own a 10-unit multifamily that I bought. That's about 50 minutes from where I actually want to be, and I currently rent the entire thing out now. And now I'm in the city right now in a little condo. Next step is I'm buying the dream home that I want. So it's literally a plan that works. And I had to fix my credit too in the beginning. Had to get my credit right in order to do this as well. That is, I don't know, I might have come in under time. I think I might have explained it kind of quickly. Right?
Yeah. It was like that. Go ahead.
All right, how much time do I have left? Because I can keep talking. How much time do I have left? I can give us.
You're a speaker like me. I know you keep talking.
Okay. So that is the 5-year plan to get into the dream home that you want. Now, I can give another tip on how to buy properties, but I want to see if there's anything that wasn't clear about the plan, or drop it in the chat if there's any questions or anything around it, right? Before I move on to something else really quickly. So one other hack that's going to be huge, and well, let me tell you quickly why this opportunity is going to be great in 2021, right? This opportunity is going to be great because this year, there was a lot of people that weren't able to pay rent this year, right? A lot of landlords were not able to collect rent. So that means they were paying, and this is one of the first times that this has happened on such a mass scale, right? So a lot of people weren't able to collect their rent, still had to pay their taxes, insurance, their mortgage, and no one was able to evict any tenants either, because there was the memorandum in most states that you couldn't evict anybody. So a lot of landlords are gonna want to sell next year, right? A lot of landlords are gonna want to sell, and they're gonna want to sell quickly, because to them, they're like, this was a year where they're like, I spent money on this and didn't make money. They're gonna be willing to sell at perhaps a discounted price, at a price that's opportune for you to buy. So if you're getting ready to make these type of purchases, this is how it works. Like, real estate's always cyclical. Sometimes people are selling really high, sometimes they're selling really low. For the last 8 years, we've been selling really high. COVID has impacted it in a way that things might actually start to come down in some type of properties. And this is not on a macro level, right? It's not that I can predict that the entire country or the entire world real estate market is going to crash. But in looking at the market on a micro level, it absolutely is the case that there are certain pockets of properties that are going to sell at a discounted rate. For example, any property that did not have outdoor space in the city sold at a discounted rate, right, for the last couple of months. And rental properties are very likely to come on at a discounted rate in the coming months if the landlord was not able to collect rent during this time. The landlords that had no problem collecting rents, and something you might consider when you're buying that first investment property, is to rent out to tenants that are government subsidized. So my building is government subsidized. There was no problem collecting rent, right? There's Section 8, SSI, Social Security, all those government subsidized programs pay their rent on time. It's places that are a little more middle class or did not, where people lost their job, those had a little bit of issues collecting rent. So a lot of times people think they want people that are, you know, have more security in their rental income. I'm telling you, when you're collecting rental properties, I would make the advocation, do not be afraid to collect government subsidized rent. That check is going to be there in the mail, and that's what you want. You don't want to play games when it comes to that. You want your rent to be there on the first of the month, every time it's the first of the month. The beautiful thing about owning rental property, and the beautiful thing about this 5-year strategy, is it makes you an investor before it makes you it makes you a homeowner and an investor at the same time, right? Because you live in the home and you're now an investor. And by the time you have your home, right? The part that I didn't even cover, actually, I got distracted. I forgot to say this part. By the time you actually own your dream home in year 5, if you add up the rental income you're collecting from your condo and your multifamily property, it is most likely paying for your mortgage and then some, right? You are most likely living in your dream home for free. Like, you actually don't have to work to pay for the home you're living in. It'll be paid for by the passive income from the rental properties you own. Now that job you have is discretionary income for you to have fun with. And this is how you can get financially free without even being a multi-millionaire, right? As long as your income is greater than your expenses, you're in a state of freedom. So I see some questions in there, Dr. Sem, popping up.
There are lots of questions.
Okay. I'm ready.
Lots of questions. So
Get the questions
I'm
at
very
me.
excited, because then, you know what? I love it when people can see possibilities. So the first one, I'm going to ask Lady Tandy to unmute herself, because she just put investment properties ? And I'm not quite sure what that question is.
I'm getting ready to retire. So one of the things that I wanted to do was invest in some properties. So, you know, what would be a good avenue to go with that?
Yep, getting ready to, okay. And you're getting ready to retire, and you want these properties to pay, is a goal for them to pay you money monthly,
Yes.
right? So are you less concerned with them appreciating over time? Like, you just want the cash flow. And for example, if you bought a property for $100,000 and it paid you $10,000 a year, right? Right, $12,000 a year, so $1,000 a month. But 20 years from now, it was only worth 120. Is that a problem for you, or do you want it to go up dramatically as well?
Well, I mean, with the market value, for the most part, I mean, I don't want to get something that's going to depreciate in value, because I'm thinking about long term. Well, since I'm retiring a little early, I'm thinking about, you know, leaving, you know, things for my children. You know what I mean? I'm trying to build wealth, generational wealth.
Yep.
Is what I'm trying to do. So that's my end goal, is to make sure I'm leaving them something that they can grow and also move forward with.
Gotcha. Awesome. So one of the main things when people, I always ask when you're looking for an investment property, is that question I just asked, because if you want the rental income, then it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, the beautiful thing about investment property is, as you're collecting rental income, it doesn't necessarily matter if the value fluctuates, right? If you have a rental property through the crash, right, through the 08 crash, etc., if the property, you bought it for 500, but now it's worth 400, but it's still paying you $1,000 a month, what difference does that make to you at that time, right? That's the adage: you buy real estate and wait, right? You buy it and you wait. It's cyclical. It might go up and down in your lifetime, but at some point it's going to go back up. And if you educate the people that you're passing it down to, or even yourself, that look, if we're going to offload this property, it's going to be at a time when it's up. We're never going to offload it when it's down. We continue to collect income on it. And as you're collecting that income, you know, the tenants are effectively paying down your debt for you, paying down the mortgage. So even if you bought it for 4, and by the time you go to sell it, for some reason, it's only worth 4, you've paid, but that's 20 years later, you've paid down 20 years of the mortgage on it. You still have equity in there. You're still making a profit when it's sold, as you're making a profit the entire time, right? And Boston, for example, I'm in Boston. Boston real estate investors are spoiled, right? And I say spoiled, it's because we're in one of the unique markets where you're able to get good cash flow and you're able to get appreciation year over year. Most places, it's either one or the other. You don't get great cash flow, but that property is increasing in value. And the reason you don't get great cash flow is because you can only charge but so much rent, right? Like that's an expensive city already. Because the city's expensive, the property value goes up every year, but the rent can't follow that high, right? So you don't get great cash flow, but in 3, 4, 5 years, the property's worth a lot more than when you just bought it. And that's when you make your money. Or you buy in areas that don't appreciate as fast, but you get great cash flow. The place I bought my 10 units, it doesn't get great appreciation. Like I bought it for 546. I predict in like 10 years, it might be worth like 650, maybe just under 7, which is going up, but not at the rate of Boston, right? If I bought that in the city itself, actually I have a client, she bought her place for $385, and 2 years later, she's selling it for like 415, 420, like 2 years, right? And I'm thinking that I might see similar growth over 5, 10 years outside, but I get much better cash flow than she gets in the city. That makes sense? So just think about what your goal is. If you want the cash flow so that you don't have to work while you're retiring, then you might want to you look for the strong cash flow and don't worry about whether it's appreciating or depreciating. And that's why I recommend like government subsidized properties, because the checks are coming regardless. And every minute, once you own that property, every minute you exist, your net worth is going up because someone owes you more money, right? Every day that goes by, every minute that goes by, a tenant owes you more money for the time that they're in the property. So as I'm sitting here right now, like since I started the call till now, 10 people owe me more money than they did 15 minutes ago. Like my net worth has just gone up a little bit. It's constantly moving up. And once you own your property, it'll be the same for you.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do, Jay Lucky.
Mhm.
There are many more questions that I'm assuming that they will take just as much time as you having presented it. I'm going to give you a couple questions that we're going to do here, but I will send you all the questions so that you can answer them on, one PDF. And we will have just a PDF with all the answers, so people have the answers to what you've already, answered, and many of these here. So the other one that's real quick is, please go back to after 1 year when you go back and ask for another loan and you move out. How long before you can apply for another loan if you already had another loan?
Yep. So there is no time frame, right? That's a conception out there that if you buy a property, you have to wait like 6 months before you can like buy another one or something like that. As long as the reasoning makes sense, like no one can tell you you cannot move, right? As long as you can pay, like if you buy a property and then you want to move out the next day, right? Yeah, you're gonna have to pay to do that. You're gonna have to make sure you can sell it. Someone gives you the money and you can do that. So in this case, in this scenario, we're asking you to buy the multifamily, keep it, move on to buy the next one. The reason I say a year is because in a year, you will start to pay down a little bit of the debt, right, that you owe on it. So you start to create some equity for yourself. Not a lot, just a little bit, depending on, and we can get into a whole nother thing about how you set up the loan, your amortization period, why 30 years? The bank wants you to do 30. I might suggest to you to do a 20-year, right? So that you're paying more of your principal down faster. But after a year, you've paid down some principal. Hopefully you're in a spot where the market is trending up. So the market went up a little bit, your debt went down. So you've created a little more gap of equity. After a year, you've also proven that rental income is stable. And that's a very important part. You've proven that the rental income is stable. So now you have a whole year of basically having had a raise. So it's not a fluke, right? Because if you got a Christmas bonus 1 year or like a temporary raise, that's not enough to qualify you for a higher bracket of a mortgage. But after a year of collecting that rental income, now you've proven that this is real and you make this much money, which allows you to then get pre-approved for a higher amount to go buy that next condo.
Okay. Yes or no? Because I know you will expand on this later. So I just want to yes or no to this question, okay? Do you show and sell more properties via video presentations or online at this time?
I sell more properties.
Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, to which one? Videos or online? Or like online
videos.
Videos?
Yes.
Awesome. And then do you suggest people hire a property manager? Yes or no?
When they buy this dream house in year 5. Until then, no. When you buy that last one, that's when you hire a property manager. Until then, you YouTube videos and learn to do it yourself, right? And save that because you live there anyway.
All right, you all. I think it's time for, because this was amazing. Thank you. This was awesome. I definitely will be giving all the questions to Jay Lucky so that he can answer all those questions for you. He will have time, and I promise you I'll email them to all of you so that you can be homeowners times triple. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for that presentation.